I want to ask you, what does it mean for you, this idea of finding yourself? What do you
Okay.
even think about yourself right now?
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a long journey for me. For sure. I think that I've learned a lot about myself through some of the most painful, situations in my life, which for me are from, romantic relationships. That's kind of where my challenges seem to
Mm,
I feel like I have a pretty good business, and I have great friends, and good family life. But where my challenges and my shadow and all these things come out is really like with my levers and with
right.
relationships. And so that's where I've definitely learned the
Were some of these lovers douchebags?
yeah,
Yes.
for sure. A couple of them, and like you said, a couple cheaters in there, and
Mm,
a little bit of narcissism for sure. And I feel like I'm more like suffered with some codependency in my day, just from, I think, my childhood and seeing my parents, my both of them
yeah.
had issues with drinking and things like that. And so I kind of witnessed that type of chaotic marriage when I was a little girl. And so I think I've grown up to choose men that are similar to my dad in that
Mm.
regard. And
Well,
so
how did you like? Well, then by that same concept, if that's what you were so familiar with, right? Like finding a lot of men, because here's the other part of finding ourselves is that whatever we think of ourselves, we'll find something in our lives that complements it, right?
I've
So at
heard
the time, when you found those men who were maybe also alcoholics or maybe cheaters and stuff, the quote unquote douchebags, and no names shall be mentioned here, but
that.
um, what did you feel of yourself at that point?
I mean, one of my first relationships was with my first husband, and I met him in high school, and I was 16 years old. And so, what did I think of myself
16.
when I was 16? Like, oh my
Wow.
gosh, all I cared about when I was 16 was,
Yeah.
my friends thought of me, and I wanted to find
Mm,
a boyfriend, and I just wanted
yeah.
to. I feel like I gave my like wanted to look a certain way. I put a lot
Right.
of stake on external appearance because
Mhm.
I think my dad sort of rewarded me for that when I was little. Like told me how pretty I was, which was great. But then I put
Mhm.
all this importance on and value on my external appearance. And now that I'm older, I realize like no, that's not. That is part of who I am, but really, what's more important is who I am on the inside. You know,
Okay, Heather, I'm gonna stop you there because at this part of the story, this is where the BS police are coming out, and I want you to catch them, right? Because you said that when you were young, people called your dad called you pretty and stuff, and that's why you built an identity for yourself from there. But I think right now you've built a brand for yourself out of your own, again, identity physically from fashion, right?
right?
And from what you're doing, which obviously is an emphasis of like how pretty you are, but how you carry yourself. So, what is different between when someone called you pretty when you were 16 and you creating identity of yourself, and now you creating an identity for yourself at your age? Which, if you don't mind me asking, like I never ask women their age. I like to guess. This is a habit my dad trained me with.
I'll let you ask me. It's okay. I am 50. I turned 50 in November. This
What?
October. Yeah.
Really? Wow, congratulations. You don't look a day over 39. All
Thank
right. For everybody else who's listening, if you don't get to watch this, so you don't know, too bad. You'll just have to take my word for it. It's very
you.
true.
And
But coming back to your answer, what differentiates you from who you are now, where you're building an identity of yourself physically and how you look, and at that time when you were like 16 or 17?
I know myself a lot better now than I did when I was 16. I've had a lot of life experiences. I've done a lot of internal work on
Mm,
my patterns, patterns I picked up from my mom and my dad, and the ways that I've acted out in romantic relationships. Like I told you, I can be pretty controlling because I
mm.
had a dad who drank a lot, and my mom, also drank, and so you
Give me
know,
an example of a controlling tendency you have and make it spicy because
okay,
everybody's listening.
okay, let me. Oh my goodness. I mean, just wanting to just have a say, and like if we're going on a trip or something, like what we do
Mm,
during the day, or what restaurant we go to, even kind of like telling him what to wear, maybe like suggesting,
mm.
if you what if you wore this instead of that? And some people aren't.
Right.
My second husband was not receptive to that at all. In fact, he hated that when I would try
Mhm.
to tell him what to wear. And so I kind of learned that about him, and tried
Right.
not to do it. But you know,
Why do you think you would do it? Why do you think that you would control and try and, for example, make sure that you go to the restaurant that's what, like, that you really want to, or that they wear the clothes you really want them to? Like, why do you think that you would do that?
I think because I think that it will bring me peace, and you know, but really it doesn't. It just creates tension in the relationship. It just creates
Mm,
a lot of tension between us, because what I really should be doing is not worrying about them, just worrying about myself, right? And it's really none of
right.
my business, and also the biggest way I would control is controlling how much they drank. I don't
Mm.
drink that much. You're drinking too much. You're making me feel uncomfortable.
But I mean, that comes from a place where also you were afraid, right? I mean, you saw your dad drinking a lot, so you were afraid that if these men who you're in a relationship with, if they drank too much,
Yeah,
that things would get ugly. Now, here's another question, another thing. We know, like, we talk about this a lot. We know that from the subconscious mind, what we believe, we will make true, right?
yes.
So, did those men who were in your life, who they were drinkers, were they aggressive, or was their behavior not friendly or supportive when they drank too much?
Yes, for sure. They were definitely aggressive and, abusive at times,
Wow.
verbally and psychologically. And yeah, it was awful. I mean, we would have the biggest fights
Mm,
when alcohol was involved.
right.
And so I was proud of myself for speaking up about it. Like, hey, I don't
Hmm.
want you to do this. I don't want you to drink that much. I'd rather not be around you when I drink. And so I would set the boundary, like, you can't drink around me. But then I had a therapist say, that's not setting a boundary. You're trying to
Right.
control him. What setting a boundary is me to say to him, if you're going to drink like that, I'm not going to be around you. I will
Yes.
choose to not go out with you, or I will choose to go upstairs and go to my room by
Yeah.
myself, because I can control what I do, but I can't control what they do.
Right. You know what? You said something really interesting here, which is the control what I can do and not control what they can do. And this is the difference between victimization and empowerment, right? And a lot of us who get into this controlling attitude, because I also have the controlling attitude about how shit is around the house,
Yeah.
which I have like slowly had to break, like constantly. Otherwise, my wife's gonna fucking whoop my ass.
I
So,
have that too.
um, but it comes from this kind of like victimized place, I think, where we're feeling like, um, if things are not done the way I want them around me, my life's going to be like turned to shit. Like
Yeah.
you said, use the word safety, right? Like, I mean, obviously there is a safety for those of you who are listening who either are victims of like alcohol abuse or been around people. Like, I just want you guys to listen to this a little carefully. My heart goes out to all of you because it's a terrible, terrible thing. And I feel like I was teaching a gauntlet call yesterday where I taught about how alcohol helps a lot of people bring out unrepressed emotions and or repressed emotions and repressed anger, etc. And so they channel it onto the people who are in relationships with them because it's easiest, it's safest to like take it out on them, right, rather than to take it out on someone unknown who'll then take you to the cops.
Exactly.
But at the same token, I feel like when we control, it's like we're trying to establish some sense of like that things will work out for us, because inside there's this belief that things are not going to work out for us, that everybody else is going to make us feel unsafe, that things are like not working out for us. The woe is me, my dad was like this, my mom was like that in my case, or any of those other things. And like you said, the empowerment is when you take back the initiative, you take back the energy by not choosing to control,
Mhm.
but more importantly, by removing yourself from a particular situation, or on the other end, by creating acceptance and trust of the situation you're in. And before I let you go again, this the acceptance piece. People might be saying like, "How does acceptance make sense here?" Yeah, it's when you have like an alcoholic partner or a friend or someone. Most of us who control don't want to accept that a person cannot change, and so we want to try and change them or fix them because then that makes us feel better. And we don't want to create that sense of acceptance that this is their story, because then it reflects on us for being like, shit, then I have to make a decision whether I stay or leave or choose something else or whatever else. But I don't want to do that. So I'd much rather try to fix them. I'd much rather try to control them. And
Right.
so we end up like staying in those situations, but hating them and resenting them and controlling them throughout it, instead of accepting that things may not be different, that this is their story, this is where they come from, and trying to put ourselves in like a different situation. Does that make sense to you? Or
It totally does. That's why I felt like I was stuck in that unhealthy, toxic marriage for so long. And I
Mm,
definitely stayed well past the expiration date because of exactly what you said. Would be much easier, I thought, for me to try to control him and stop drinking and try to get him to behave a certain way,
mm,
because
right,
accepting reality or having radical acceptance meant that he wasn't going to change, and so that means I was the one who was going to have to change, and I was
right,
going to have to blow my life up, leave my dream house, at age 49 years old or 48 years old
wow,
when I left 2 years
right,
ago, you know, um, wreck my family that we had raised 5 kids together for 15 years. I didn't
right,
want to do that. That's the last thing I wanted to do.
mhm,
But my mental health was way more important
yeah.
than staying in that marriage for those reasons, which aren't important to me. My mental health and my physical health are more important to me than that.
Yeah. Are you hurting from shame, loneliness, toxic relationships? Do you want to break that pattern and create a beautiful, loving life for yourself? Well, my name is Yats, and I'm an inner work and relationship guru. And I have helped thousands of women and men from all around the world learn to become their best selves and have the lives that they truly want and desire. This channel was designed for you to be able to heal those old wounds, be able to become and elevate your best self, and to you to love your life really that you have right now. And I offer an 8-week program called the GAUNTLET, which takes you on this amazing journey of healing those wounds. And I also offer in-person live retreats all around the world where you can access that same level of healing and empowerment. I want you to do something for you today. I want you to watch some of these videos. And if these videos hit close to home, they resonate with you and they're giving you some inspiration, then I want you to subscribe and share it with somebody else who needs it. These videos aren't just for someone to consume. They're meant to inspire people to take action. And if you want to take action in your own life, jump in the comments, watch the videos, send me a DM at the Inner Yats on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.